Solo. Holy crap. Let's see if that works. I found the solo button. Awful. I am the worst streaming host of all times. This is really weird lighting too. I'm under a tree, so it's kind of random here. Anyway, we will have a much better setup on the next one. I'm glad that this is finally working. So, okay. Thanks for sticking through for the troubleshooting process. So yeah, I mean, I have not been on any kind of social media in a long time. I haven't been on YouTube. I have not uploaded, live streamed anything. As a lot of you know, obviously the title of the stream, I had a really bad lumbar spine injury a couple of years ago. Went through the rehabilitation process. It took a really long time. But now I'm back to 100%. And that's kind of one of the things I wanted to talk about in this stream is how I got back to 100% from not even being able to sit, having a hard time standing and walking, to now I'm able to, do my old stuff again. I'm able to deadlift. I'm able to do all the good stuff. All the good compound lifts are all back. So yeah, it's been a very long time. And the reason for that is as I was recovering from the injury, my wife was towards the end of the third trimester of her pregnancy. So, I was very involved with that. And then the baby was born and then we moved. So it's been chaos for the last, I would say, year or so, which is probably the last time that anybody has actually seen me. But yeah, thankfully hopefully I can go into the video settings and actually shorten it down, clip it, and get rid of that really awkward 9.5-minute intro of no video and, troubleshooting. So first of all, big shout out and big thanks to everybody who has supported me throughout the entire rehabilitation process. The clients that stuck with me, I love you guys. The fact that you're still around today and you put that much trust in me is truly something special. So big shout out to everyone who's on my strength training program. And if you want some information on that, links are down in the description. If you click on the website, there's a contact form there. And yeah, we can get started with any kind of program that you really want to get into, whether it's strength building or weight loss or whatever it is. So be sure to check the link out down in the description for that. So yeah, so we had the kid at the end of last year, and obviously, it's not easy having a newborn, and I wanted to take as much pressure off of my wife as possible, with her, recovering from giving birth and all that. So I have not had any kind of focus on social media, obviously, for a long time. And that's the reason why I've been trying to be as involved as possible as a dad for this beautiful new life. And yeah, so, and then, we've been on a real estate hunt for years. As a lot of you guys watching know, especially if you're my age, millennial, Gen Z, whatever, owning a home is quite an arduous task nowadays. The market is just flipped upside down, and it's been really tough. So I was basically priced out of my home, which is why you don't see palm trees, you don't see sand. I'm not in Florida anymore because I could not afford to live in Florida. We tried our very best. And honestly, the only thing we could afford in our price range was a bunch of condemned homes in some really bad parts of town. So we had to get creative. And for the last few years, we've been looking out of state. Thank you, Sun Bear. that's the wife. In case you're wondering, check her out, follow her. She does stained glass. She's kind of on a bit of a hiatus right now, just because of baby raising stuff. It's a full-time job. It really is. So, but anyway, so we landed on this property. We got a really good deal on this house in the middle of nowhere in West Virginia, which is really what I was going for. I mean, this is the dream here. Just living in the middle of the mountains. I don't really have any neighbors. There's like a couple of vacation homes around us, and that's pretty much it. So all alone at the top of a mountain. This is like where I wanted to be for a really long time. I mean, back when I was in the Army, I had always dreamed of getting a nice plot of land at the top of a mountain and just, go in Jeremiah Johnson mode and just being alone. And, I guess I'm thankful for getting squeezed out of Florida because I like it here a lot more. The weather, the environment, the people. Not that Floridians are bad people at all, but it's been a great experience being here. So we finally got a house. We're in that tiny number of millennials who actually succeeded somehow. And it's ridiculous because our pre-approval, I won't say exactly what it was, but it was high enough to where, like 10 years ago, we would have got something really nice. But in today's economy, and especially in Florida, like the housing market is just crushed down there. So we could not afford to live there. I mean, we were looking at, little single acre plots of land with a manufactured home, like a trailer on it. And those were going for like 300,000 plus. So even if I could have afforded something down there, it would not have been worth the investment. So so that's basically where I've been. I've been very focused on raising the baby, fixing up this new house. Now that we found it and have moved in, now it's about settling in and sort of, going through the process of repairs and all that stuff. So Dr. Firefly, take me home, West Virginia. Yeah, West Virginians are very nice. I have this sort of motto. Like, I feel like West Virginians there's a very bad rap. There's very negative stereotypes towards the people out here. And it doesn't really seem to be true. There's definitely some like weird neighborhoods and like places that probably aren't as safe. But overall, the people here are just so friendly and outgoing, and everyone wants to be your friend is kind of the vibe that I get. Like, you go to a grocery store, or you have a landscaper come by, or like anybody you encounter, like, expect to have a conversation, expect to have a deep dive where by the end of it, they're showing you photo albums of their kids. And you know what I mean? Like, everyone's very personable and friendly here. For the most part, there's some crabby sort of recluses out here, but for the most part, people out here are fantastic. So don't believe the hype. Don't believe in the stereotypes. Like, you can go into some weird towns and you can see some weird stuff, but it's really not the norm here. People seem to be pretty normal overall. So Dr. Firefly is 100% right there. He's a fellow West Virginian, of course. If any of you guys follow him, he does like horticulture and stuff like that. But never be in a hurry. That's kind of the motto out here, because everyone wants to have a really deep conversation with you. The motto that I came up with is, because the people here are really nice, but they have their limits. So it's kind of like, be nice or find out. That's kind of because it is a gun culture out here, but people are very nice. So as long as you have manners and you pretend like you're living in America from 20 years ago, then you're going to be fine. So anyway, so here we are out in the mountains. You see the view. This is my backyard. Like, I can tilt it down a little bit. You could actually see I'm on this giant hill, and nothing looks level because nothing is level. Nothing. It's actually really hard for me to work out properly out here because it's very hard to find flat ground. You know, if I'm doing compound lifting, if I'm doing overhead pressing, deadlifts, squats, you know, you want to have your feet on flat ground. And there's very few parts of the yard where it actually is flat. And I like, because of the scenery and the view, it's kind of disorienting. I can't even tell if I am lifting flat. So it's kind of limited me a little bit too, because I don't want to push myself and, you know, start deadlifting heavy weights or anything like that if I'm not sure of my footing. So yeah, it's all a work in progress. So obviously I've managed to get back into shape. The last video that I did talking about my injury, that was while I was in the middle of rehabilitation. You know, I was totally out of shape, cardio wise, muscular. I was just back to where I was before, like way before, just being completely sedentary. And there was nothing I could do about it. It obviously bothered me a lot, not being as mobile, but yeah, I'm back. So we're going to talk a little bit about the rehabilitation process. Like I said, let's go through these bullet points here. All right. Yeah, so I talked about the real estate. Yeah, so we're very satisfied with our new home. And yeah, now that the kid is a little bit older now, I'm gonna be a little more free to start making content and kind of get back out there on my social media and just basically getting the business back up and running to where it was. So once again, you know, thanks to everybody who stuck around. Like, I really appreciate it. If you guys want to follow, if you guys want to subscribe, I would greatly appreciate that. There will be some actual video content coming up. I have a couple of videos planned. Now, it's not like before, because my original YouTube channel, I mean, what do I got? Like 130 videos up there. And that was like from the beginning, I had a ton of topics and I was just basically going through them one by one. And nowadays, I guess I just haven't put a lot of energy into it. Because I only have a couple of topics right now, and I'm gonna see how they do, and you know, I'll go off of feedback and see what you guys actually want to hear. So that's the whole point in this channel, is helping you guys out, and it's not helping you if I'm just talking about nonsense. So all right, so rehabilitation. So the injury happened in the fall of 2022. I was doing some farm work, and I managed to slip a couple of discs. And at first, like, I had a hard time waking up in the morning, and it was kind of a dull pain. It wasn't really super bad. And over time, you know, I just kind of ignored it. I'd wake up, I'd be in pain. I would go through a sort of a routine to get back to feeling normal. And then I would go back out in the yard and start doing work again. And bad idea. I don't recommend it. You know, and it's really stupid too, because I'm one of the first people that will tell you, with training, with exercise, with anything like that, to listen to your body. When your body is telling you something's off, you definitely want to listen to it. And I made the mistake of continuously working through pain, because I had a lot of stuff to do on this farm that we were living on. And I worked through the pain, and the injury got worse and worse, to the point to where after maybe a week or two of pushing through it, I wasn't even able to get out of bed, you know, without an extreme amount of effort. I wasn't able to sit. It was a weird one. Like, I was able to stand and I could walk, but I could not sit. So I went through that for about 8 months or so. I mean, the VA, you know, it's that free healthcare. You kind of get what you pay for a little bit. And it took a long time before I was actually seen. I apologize right now. There's a train that's going by in the background. You guys are about to probably hear it. That's pretty much like the only human activity that I hear out here in West Virginia is these trains that go through the mountains every now and then. But anyway, I apologize for the screeching that's happening somewhere over there. So yeah, so it was months of not listening to my body, or not months, but it was weeks of me not listening to my body. And then it was a very long time before the VA was actually able to take action on it. So I was injured, I think it was September or October of 2022. And oh good, Doc can't hear it. So I assure you it's out there. So yeah, so I had to wait all the way until May, right? I got injured in September, October, somewhere in there. I had to wait all the way until May 1st to get my surgery. So it was like 8 months, 7 months of waiting. And that's to be accepted with the VA. You know, like I said, you get what you pay for. So that sucks. Thankfully, I still had clients that stuck by me, and those same people are still with me today. Once again, thank you so much. And if you are interested in becoming one, it's down in the description. Just click on the website. There's a contact form on there. Just get a hold of me through there. So anyway, so I got my surgery in May of 2023. I had a lumbar laminectomy, which is where they cut a penny size. I think even the billboards in Tampa, they have these BioSpine advertisements where it's like incision is the size of a penny, and it'll have like a big penny on a billboard or something. So it was a little tiny incision. They went in there, they grinded down the vertebrae, and then they ended up cutting the 2 discs that were slipped. It was L4, L5, and L5S1. So lower in my lumbar spine and a little bit into my sacrum, which explains why I wasn't able to sit. Why sitting was the most difficult thing to do during that time. So rehabilitation for me, it began immediately. You know, I had a physical therapist, and I was following the protocols of what my PT was telling me and what my chiropractor was telling me. And, you know, from the very first day, I mean, the day that I got home from the laminectomy, I went for a walk. I had a walker. I was hardly able to walk, but I did my best. I don't even think I made it down my driveway on the first day. But basically what I did is I treated the walking like a strength progression, right? You know, if you're trying to progress in deadlifts, you knock out a deadlift workout, you got your weight, you got your reps, you got your sets. And then on the next workout, if you're going through a progression, you want to progress, right? So you want to add weight, add reps, add sets, whatever it is. And that's how I treated the walking. You know, at first I couldn't walk the driveway, then I walked the whole driveway, then I would do 2 laps, 3 laps, 4 laps. And I was going for these personal records, these PRs, you know, kind of using the same mental framework that I use with powerlifting and applying it towards rehabilitation. And, you know, I had a list of stretches from my physical therapist and all that. So I was doing all of that. And like I said, it's the same philosophy as, like, you know, you hear about like pro athletes, they get injured and their physical therapy coach will have them doing stuff pretty much immediately. And that was kind of my mindset too, is the top priority is to start strengthening these muscles which have atrophied and just start building a base to help protect my spine again. So after about 3 months, I got the green light to start strength training again from my chiropractor. But I was extremely cautious about it, and I'm still very cautious about it. Never again will I ever go for a max weight, for example. And I'm going to do another like sort of a video on what it's sort of how I pivoted in my training as a 40-year-old. I just turned 40. So sort of the approach that I take to training now, it's not as hardcore. It's not as intense. I'm not chasing numbers anymore. And it's kind of a sad thought to me, that the thought that the best lifts that I've had, the strongest that I've ever been, at my peak, is the strongest that I will ever be for the rest of my life. Because now I'm on the other side of the slope now. Things are downhill from here. So, but yeah, I'll be going more into detail about my approach to training as a 40-year-old, as someone in their 40s, especially someone who's had a pretty catastrophic injury. But anyway, so yeah, after 3 months, I got the green light. But yeah, so after being down for so long, I wanted to take my time and slowly work my way back into doing the compound lifts again. I ended up waiting closer to 5 months, even though I got the green light at 3 months. At 3 months, I began sort of isolation training. I still avoided squats. I avoided deadlifts. I did not do overhead press. I didn't even do bench press because I didn't want any sort of stress on my lumbar spine. And believe it or not, if you have a good arch, if you have good form with bench press, you are activating a lot of your lower back and hip muscles. So not even bench press. It was mostly curls, face pulls, rows. You know, I was basically working every muscle group in an isolation sense. And I wasn't going too hard. You know what I mean? Like I said, I'm too old to even go and break any personal records at this point, unless, you know, I started taking something, which is just not going to happen, especially having a daughter. I now have a totally new outlook towards life, towards living, towards longevity. You know, I'd always thought longevity was important before, but now that I have this beautiful little girl that is looking up to me, you know, it's now like a top priority to stick around for as long as I can. So that's kind of the pivot that I've taken, is like there's that less sort of going for it, you know, going for the big deadlift, going for the big lift, doing competitions. Now it's about keeping myself healthy for as long as possible. And that means strength training. It also means doing cardio. I do incorporate a lot of cardio now. I'm going to talk about exactly what I'm doing right now, post surgery, how I got back to being in decent shape in spite of it all. But we'll get there in a second. So after those 5 months, I started adding in very light sumo deadlifts, a little bench press, mostly with lighter dumbbells. I was doing box squats on my plyo box or on my bench, and very slowly adding weight. But there's no, like, I have goals in terms of strength, what I want to get to, but like I said, none of it's record breaking goals. Those sort of days are behind me now. I have the knowledge. I could train you on how to do it. If you have a younger body than me, I can get you there. But me personally, it's not worth the risk anymore. So now that it's been over a year since the surgery, what am I doing? So my last strongman competition was August of 2019, right before the proverbial poop hit the fan. I was 36 at the time. And, you know, I figured I was probably going to have another competition or two prior to that injury. Yeah, that's a good way to put it there, Firefly. Farmer strong. And I'll get into that because there's a heavy emphasis on sort of like functional strength and not using gym equipment. And then, you know, we'll get there in a second. But yeah, so like I said, I don't care about hitting the big weights. The personal records that I have are my personal records for all time. I'm never going to get anything higher than a 585 deadlift. I'm never going to get anything higher than a 675 trap bar deadlift. There's just no point. That being said, I'll never give up on the big four. I do a lot of variations of the big four. And in case you're not familiar, that's sort of more of a powerlifting term. And most powerlifters, they refer to it as the big three: the squat, the bench press, and the deadlift. I've always referred to it as the big four, though, because overhead press, I feel like, is an extremely important compound lift too. So I will never give up on the big four. It's the fact that now I use a lot more variations. I'm not doing conventional deadlifts. I don't really expect to ever do them again unless, I'm picking up weight to do a farmer's walk. So if I'm doing a conventional deadlift, to do it and another exercise, that's about the only way you'll catch me doing a conventional deadlift from here on out. So in terms of deadlifts, I still do the sumos. Sumos are really great for taking strain off your back and putting more emphasis on your legs, especially your quads. So sumo deadlifts, I still do the trap bar deadlifts. Trap bar deadlifts feel really good on my back. I don't have any issues with it. And a lot of people in the fitness world kind of argue whether the trap bar deadlift is more of a squat than a deadlift, because the form is very similar. Your hips are a little bit lower, so it does kind of simulate. It's not a below parallel, ass to grass style squat, but it is. What was the point I was going to make there? Yeah, it is sort of a form of squat, even though it's technically a type of deadlift. Some people even call it the trap bar squat. I think that's a little ridiculous. You're clearly picking up dead weight, so it's a deadlift. Firefly is stuck picking up an ATV. Well, good luck with that. That's kind of the area that I live in now. That's what these mountains are known for. It's notorious for its ATV trails, really the outdoor activity in general. But there's a lot of ATVers, and that's most of the seasonal homes here are people who love ATVing. So it's pretty cool. But anyway, so deadlift. So no more conventional. We do sumo, or I do sumo, and trap bar now because conventionals just they feel terrible. Actually, I don't even know what they feel like. I imagine that they would feel terrible though. I'm not even gonna really mess with them. All right, so that's one. Deadlifts. Squats. Okay, so obviously I'm not going for big squat PRs. I don't want to load a ton of weight on a back that it's not that I'm set up for injury or anything like that. It's that I want to be as careful as possible. You know what I mean? It's not that I'm about to like break apart at any moment. It's more of, why? What's the point? Why do I want to go back to squatting over 400 or 500 pounds? Or, there is no point. So do I do below parallel back squats? Sometimes. And when I do them, I don't really go over 95 pounds. Full disclosure. I do not squat over 95 pounds nowadays. But, I don't really prefer the back squats because I'm just not a big fan of doing actual loading over my spine anymore for obvious reasons. So I prefer nowadays to do goblet squats on a bench or on a plyo box. So box squats with weight loaded in the front rack. Really, it doesn't really put any stress on my back whatsoever, especially if I'm keeping my core and all of my muscles tight throughout the entire movement. I don't really have any structural issues with the goblet box squat. And for now, the very limited below parallel squatting and then the goblet box squats, those are the only types of squats that I do. So there's two of the big four. So deadlifts, squats, and then Next would be press. So we'll just lump bench press and overhead press into sort of one category. So nowadays with presses, I do flat bench pressing. And I only use dumbbells. I don't really go over 55 ever on the bench press. That's 55-pound dumbbells or kettlebells. And once again, it's because the bench press does have a potential to put stress on your hips and your back. So I take even the bench press pretty gingerly. Another thing that I like doing more recently in terms of pressing is push-ups. You know, I'm not taking a weight and pressing it, but I kind of am, you know what I mean? Like I'm planked and I am doing sort of pressing similar to like a flat bench press or something like that. So I really like those. Those are great for sort of like the higher rep training that I gravitate towards more. Usually I'm somewhere between 12 and 20 reps on my presses, whether I'm going overhead or flat. It's somewhere between 12 and 20 because I want the weight to be a little bit lighter. And then with push-ups, I'll go somewhere between 20 and 30, depending on how I feel per set. So yeah, the push-ups, I also really like them because I know this is like the most basic exercise ever, but I really like them because there is sort of the core stabilization element to it too. When you're down in the start position, you are doing a plank. So you're activating all of this anterior core muscles. And then obviously the push-ups are going to be working the anterior part of your shoulders and your chest and triceps and all that stuff. So very good stuff. In terms of overhead pressing, I do some kettlebell presses. Typically, I'll use some 35s overhead. If I'm feeling kind of like I want to lift heavier, I don't go over 20 kilos. So that's about 45 pounds or so on each arm. And then more recently, I've started working back in the strongman log, which I freaking love. It's always been my favorite piece of gym equipment. The log clean and press is just like one of the most full body functional, get it all over with at once kind of exercises to do. Like if I'm crunched on time, you know, just doing a few sets of clean and presses is a great way to sort of be efficient and get your workout over in 15-20 minutes. So I'm back to using the log. I'm back to cleaning. I'm back to snatching. Obviously, I'm back to deadlifting. Now, the deadlifts, the most that I've deadlifted in recent times, and this is with the trap bar, the high handle, was about, 215? So right around my body weight, 215, and I'd rep that out for about 10 reps or so. But generally, I don't really plan on going too far beyond that. Maybe 2 plates, which my trap bar is 75 pounds. So technically it's a 255 pound trap bar deadlift. Not much. Like if I do go beyond that, maybe at one point I might shoot for a 315 or something like that after I have a really good base built up. But that the days of approaching 700 and trying to get the 700-pound trap bar deadlift way behind me. Not going to happen. And like I said, I'm just, I wouldn't put my body through that. I am very lucky, extremely lucky, and I'll say blessed to have rehabilitated, to get back to being able to deadlift and squat and bench. I mean, I thought I was not going to be able to do these things ever again. With the severity of the injury, how much pain I was in, and just how long the rehabilitation process and how intense the rehabilitation process was, I honestly did not think that that I would get back into compound lifting at all. And that time period was hard for me mentally. Just having to accept the fact that I was never going to be able to perform at all again. And obviously, I was wrong. I have fully rehabilitated. There's no pain. I do have some nerve damage in my leg, in my right leg, because the discs slipped off to the right. So while I was sort of in the worst part of the injury, I had really bad sciatica. I mean, like my leg would go painfully numb, excruciatingly painful. Um, and, I dealt with that for months. So I guess the leftover artifact of all that pain is the fact that some of my nerves are just permanently damaged, in my lower leg in particular, especially around my ankle. So, yeah. Once again, what's the lesson to be learned here? Listen to your body. Listen to your body. Do not work through pain. Okay. And I've preached this for years. I've preached this with all of my clients. Back when I had the brick and mortar gym and I had a full schedule, everybody, if they came in the gym and they weren't feeling right physically, I would call off their workout. I'd be like, you should have just stayed home. I mean, if this hurts or that hurts, or you don't feel like you're fully hydrated or whatever, it's not the time to train. You got to listen to your body and you got to roll with it. And that's the big mistake that I made, is that I didn't listen to my body. I was very stubborn, and I paid for it. But, thank God that I was able to rehabilitate and come out stronger on the other side. Well, not stronger on the other side. I guess that's the wrong way to put it. But, yeah, you know what I mean. I'm pretty much back to normal. So aside from variations of the big four, I do a lot of emphasis on strengthening my back, and that's all of it: cervical, thoracic, lumbar, hips, every part of my back. I do sort of like different isolation exercises to ensure, especially the spinal erectors, which are the muscles that go along the vertebrae. Those are the ones that keep things decompressed. Those are the ones that protect the vertebrae, right? I put a lot of emphasis on strengthening those. And I do get some of that through the sumo deadlifts and trap bar deadlifts and squats and, kettlebell swings and stuff like that. But I do a lot of direct isolation too. So whether it's back extensions, pull-ups, face pulls, any type of row variation you can think of, Yates rows, single arm rows, croc rows, pen lay rows. I'm back to pulling the sled, the strongman sled. I'll throw a few plates on that and take that through the yard, which is not fun, by the way, because you can't really make it out on camera, but the grading on this yard is very, very steep. So any kind of stuff like that, like sled drag, sled pulls, even just walking. When I first moved here, I thought I was the most out of shape piece of crap ever, because I went from living at sea level in Florida to, now I'm a couple thousand feet up. And, man, it was like just walking around the yard was extremely difficult. So, yeah, sled dragging is basically like torture, but you get a good workout out of it. My cardio has improved dramatically too. So I got slightly offended. Like, really? Like, I can do a lot more than this. And I put a lot of emphasis on upping my cardio, between running through the yard and doing boxing, hitting the heavy bag. That's my favorite form of cardio, because it's kind of it's a little bit of an upper body, lower body, like a full body workout. If you're punching correctly and you're using your legs and your hips to actually throw the punches, it is a full body workout. And it's just like, it's really good. It's cathartic. Like, it's a really good stress relief. If I am feeling any kind of stress or anxiety or anything like that, nothing really does it like going to town on a heavy bag. So it's a very healthy way to sort of get out negative feelings and stuff like that. But anyway, all right, we're diverging a little bit. Um, but yeah, so one of the things I really like to do too, especially because I had the back injury, I came across, I forget who it was. It was a few months ago, but it was a video on back rehabilitation, and it was specifically for former powerlifters who had been through like really bad injuries throughout their careers. And this sort of physical therapist on YouTube, I wish I could shout him out, but I don't remember his name. But he put a lot of emphasis on moving backwards, walking backwards, running backwards, and things like that, because you're strengthening sort of the opposite muscles to the posterior chain. You're putting more emphasis on your quads, you know, as you're pushing back and walking backwards. So I took that to heart. I've incorporated a lot of that, and that has been fantastic, especially being on a mountain. And you know, my yard is nothing but hills. It makes it very easy. I've got a lot of room to work with in terms of backwards sprinting, backwards walking, backwards farmers carries. So yeah. So between all of that, you know, getting the big four variations of the big four in, putting a lot of emphasis on my back, putting a lot of emphasis on cardio, and then obviously what I just mentioned, sort of the backwards sprinting and stuff like that through the hills. I'm back. You know what I mean? Like, I don't feel any kind of pain anymore. And this is how it was, because this injury actually goes all the way back to when I was enlisted, when I was in the Army. And, you know, I went through a rehabilitation with the original injury, and it was amazing because the therapist that I worked with had me doing deadlifts, had me doing squats, had me doing things that I didn't think that I should ever do as somebody with a back injury, and everything got fixed. And I did not feel pain for years. I mean, I was rehabilitated back when I was 26, and I did not re-injure myself until I was 36. So 10 years, I was fully good. And then, like I said, a combination of just doing hard farm work and not listening to my body. I put a lot of impact. I was doing a lot of sort of impact things with my legs, and like digging trenches and that sort of thing. And a combination of that, not listening to my body, brought the injury back to life from 10 years back. And yeah, where I'm at right now is where I felt when I was on the other side of originally rehabilitating the injury when I got out of the Army. So very, very thankful, very happy for that. So yeah, so that's pretty much it in terms of my rehab injury history, why I've been gone for the last year. You know, I have a child now, and she's just the most, I can't even put it into words, the most beautiful thing in my entire life. The greatest thing to ever happen to my life. And it's really weird too. And I won't stick on this topic forever. By the way, I'm reading the chat, so if anyone, I see there's been a lot of viewers. If you guys want to say anything, I'm here. But you know, before you have a kid, you know, you hear a lot of other parents talk about how important their children are, and you can sort of empathize with it. Like, yeah, of course, like, you know, your kids are you know, of course they're the most important thing in your life. But it's like, it's one of those things where you don't realize it until you actually do it. Once you actually have a child, like, all of you, I mean, if you actually care about them, at least all of your priorities just change. Everything from your short-term plans to your long-term plans to, I mean, one of the things with me is like on an almost daily basis, I'm like, I have this anxiety now about, not living long enough to, for her now. So I guess that's kind of what's happened is every priority I've had in my life in a single instant, my daughter just boom, number one, from not even being on my radar to the most important thing in my life. Um, so yeah, I do have some uploads planned, and both of them are going to be kind of age related. The first one is very interesting and has to do kind of with reverse aging a little bit. Some recent studies that were done. So I'm going to go into depth about those because it is extremely interesting to me. And, if your fitness goal is more geared towards longevity, this should interest you too. So I'm going to be working on that. Hopefully I'll have that up in the next week or two. I don't know, like between projects on the property, between rebuilding the house, having the baby, having clients, like it's a lot of it's just a lot of stuff going on right now. So and I don't want to reveal too, as being like, I've been in entrepreneurship. I've owned a business since 2016. And one of the things that I've learned when you're content creator or whatever is you don't want to tell people your future plans because it puts a lot of stress unless they're like close friends and you're brainstorming or something like that. But putting it out to the general, like, I have basically just set a timer and now I have to get this thing done no matter what's going on in life. So yes, I do have some plans, but we're not going to announce them directly. You're just going to see them happen. So um, it's been about an hour, not including the extremely awkward first 8 or 9 minutes that I will have to go through and edit and cut out. But yeah, thank you everybody for tuning in. Thanks for watching. Um, thanks for being here. I mean, I'm blown away by the amount of people that have been watching this stream. Um, love all of you. Thanks for the support. Like I said before, if you would like one-on-one personal training done remotely, that can be arranged. Just go down in the description, click on the link to my website, bullstrengthathletics.com. And there on the landing page, there's a contact form at the bottom. I would prefer if you get a hold of me there instead of going through Patreon. I know when you go to my website, it looks like I want to get you over to Patreon so that, we can do your training programs through there. But I'm not a big fan of the cut that Patreon takes. So basically, I've moved everybody from there to like Venmo, Cash App, whatever kind of processor you got. So anyway, that's enough pitching. Love you guys. Thank you for tuning in. And I'll see you very soon. Have a good one. And as always, peace out.